Have you ever just looked up at the moon and thought, what if it were different? What if we could just reach out into the solar system and swap our old, familiar moon for something a little more exotic? It's a really cool thought experiment, but as we're about to find out, changing our moon would change absolutely everything about life on Earth. So let's dive in.
So let's just get right to it. What would actually happen if we replaced our moon with one of the other, 200 plus moons in our solar system? Well, the answer is a whole cascade of consequences, starting with a few that would hit us almost right away.
For starters, depending on what we swapped it with, our oceans could just rise up in rebellion. We're talking catastrophic, planet-wide tides that would literally redraw every single coastline on Earth, twice a day.
Or, on the flip side, what if we swapped it for something way too small? Well, that familiar moonlight we all know would just vanish. It would plunge the entire world into absolute pitch-black nights, totally messing with all nocturnal life.
And yeah, in a few of these scenarios, the end result is nothing short of an extinction-level event. So, just a warning, you might not survive most of these swaps. Let's see what happened.
Okay, our first stop is Saturn's system, where we're going to grab its largest moon, the truly titanic Titan. Get ready for a night sky you would not even recognize.
Right off the bat, you'd notice the size difference. Titan is enormous, about 1.5 times the diameter of our moon. It's even bigger than the planet Mercury. But its size isn't even the craziest part. Titan has this thick, nitrogen-rich atmosphere, which is something our moon just doesn't have at all. And that atmosphere, it changes everything. Instead of a sharp, silvery white disk, our nights would be bathed in this eerie golden-orange twilight. Titan would just hang in the sky like a giant, fuzzy orb because of all that dense, hazy air. It'd be beautiful for sure, but also deeply unsettling.
But let's forget about how it looks for a second, because Titan's mass is the real problem here. It is a staggering 80% more massive than our moon. And as you know, more mass means more gravity, and that extra pull would have devastating effects right here on the ground. Titan's gravity would just relentlessly tug on our oceans. High tides would become daily tsunamis, completely flooding coastal cities like New York and Tokyo every single day. The turbulence and erosion would reshape continents. Suddenly, owning beachfront property becomes the worst investment you could possibly imagine.
You thought Titan was bad? Ha! Let's move on to the king of the solar system, Jupiter, and meet its moon, Ganymede. This thing is the largest moon in our entire solar system.
Ganymede is an absolute monster. It's covered in ice, so it would reflect so much sunlight that it would shine incredibly bright, basically washing out all the stars for astronomers. Its mass, twice that of our moon, would create megatides even worse than Titan's. And its gravitational pull could even trigger earthquakes and volcanic eruptions just by tugging on Earth's crust.
But here's the wild part. Amidst all that destruction, there's one incredible upside. Ganymede's immense gravity would lock Earth's axial tilt perfectly in place. And the result? No more ice ages. We'd have a perfectly stable, predictable climate forever. Assuming you survive the initial chaos to actually enjoy it.
So some swaps bring total destruction with a weird silver lining, while others would just be an incredible show. Let's shift gears from pure tidal power to some of the most spectacular moons out there, the worlds of fire and ice, Jupiter's Io and Neptune's Triton. First up, Io. Now, you might be expecting another catastrophe, but Io is surprisingly similar in size and mass to our moon. The tides wouldn't change that much. So what's the difference? Our moon has been geologically dead for millions of years. Io, on the other hand, is a volcanic inferno, constantly erupting.
Just imagine what our night sky would become. Io would glow with this golden-orange light, shining 5 times brighter than our current moon. And get this, with a simple backyard telescope, you could actually watch its volcanoes blasting molten sulfur hundreds of kilometers into space. It would be, without a doubt, the greatest show on Earth.
All right, next, let's meet a real cosmic rebel, Triton. This moon of Neptune is famous for one big thing. It orbits the wrong way. This is called a retrograde orbit, and it makes Triton one of the absolute weirdest major moons in the whole solar system.
And instead of fire, Triton has ice volcanoes. It's so cold out by Neptune that its surface is frozen nitrogen. If we brought it here, as it got closer to the sun in Earth's orbit, that nitrogen would vaporize, build up pressure, and then erupt in these massive plumes of icy cryomagma up to 8 kilometers high. Another spectacular, but much colder nightly show. So far, we've looked at these big, impressive moons. But what if we went in the complete opposite direction? Let's swap our moon for the tiny little companions of Mars, Phobos and Deimos, and see why smaller definitely isn't safer.
I mean, just look at this. The difference is staggering. It's not even close. Phobos and Deimos are basically just captured asteroids, more than 100 times smaller than our moon. In the night sky, they'd look like nothing more than bright stars, just zipping by. Moonlight would, for all intents and purposes, be gone. And the consequences of losing our moon's mass like that are severe. With no real gravitational partner, our tides would nearly vanish, causing coastal ecosystems to just collapse. But the worst part? Over millions of years, Earth's axis would start to wobble wildly without the moon's stabilizing pull, leading to totally unpredictable and extreme climate swings. And there's a terrifying ticking clock that comes with this swap. Phobos is in a death spiral, getting closer and closer to Mars with every century that passes. In about 50 million years, it's either going to be torn apart into a ring, or it's going to crash right into the planet. If that were our moon, we'd be living with a slow-motion asteroid impact just hanging over our heads.
Okay, so after all of these chaotic scenarios, it becomes pretty clear that what we have is incredibly special. Our moon isn't too big, it isn't too small, it really does seem to be just right to help foster stable, long-term life.
I mean, the verdict is pretty clear when you lay it all out. A massive moon like Titan brings catastrophic tides. A volcanic one like Io gives us a spectacular but ultimately harmless light show. A tiny moon like Phobos, that just invites long-term climate chaos. It really puts into perspective how perfect our own moon is for a stable, livable planet. Our moon gives us stability, calm tides, gentle light, really the perfect conditions for life to flourish here. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Could an icy moon with a subsurface ocean, something like Europa, offer something even more profound? Not stability for us, but maybe the proof, just a 3-day trip away, that we are not alone in the universe. Now that is something to think about.